I always forget. All right.
Always, always.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitics
Geopolitics and
in Conflict.
conflict.
So, very, very excited to be with you as always. We got an interesting topic. It really flies under the radar. I don't see Western media covering that at all. As a matter of fact, I didn't. What I found the article in Arabic language. I speak the language, so I kind of like, oh my gosh, why is this not? And I can see why. I can see why Western media will not address this topic. So, what we're going to be talking about is we will be talking about how the richest women in Russia, worth about $8.2 billion, is embarking now on a project.
Yes.
Is embarking on a project to counter the SWIFT system with the backing of the Russian government. In other words, Putin gave it the green light, and I can see why. So,
yes.
How is everything with you first before we get into how is your week? How is everything?
Wonderful. I am very excited about the direction that our channel is taking.
Yes, with the finance and all that stuff. Yeah.
It really, when I've said this before, but when we really thought about it, we realized that every single thing is decided by economics.
For sure.
Every single decision.
For sure.
And especially as the world is changing in this really interesting way. And one of the things I think that is most interesting about what this woman is doing, her name is, I apologize if I do not pronounce her name right. Her name is
Tatiana Bakalchak. Tatiana Bakalchak. Try it.
Bakalchak.
Try it.
Oh my goodness.
Tatiana
I'm so
Bakalchak.
sorry. Yes, oh my
Tatiana
gosh.
Bakalchak.
One of the things that's interesting about what she's doing is that with her, so this is super interesting overall. But so Tatiana Bakalchak was or is the mother of 7. She's married. She was a teacher, and then she started this website called Wildberries. Mm-hmm. And Wildberries basically is like a sort of online resale-ish platform. You know what? Let me pull it up for you guys. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
Wildberries Marketplace.
Yeah, it was established in 2004.
Yeah, 2004. Well, it's not in English, but it is. I did find it.
And actually, I did see her ranking according to Bloomberg. So.
Yes. So let me share with you guys. She is a billionaire. She's one of the world's billionaires. She's worth $8.2 billion. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. I mean, she's a regular, everyday, average person that came up with this idea. And it absolutely shot her through the roof. But what's interesting is, so it's not just this, it's, here, let me show it to you guys one thing at a time. My brain's going a million miles an hour. Share screen. All right. So this is Wildberries. Check it out. Have you seen this, David?
No, I didn't.
So, it's a sort of competitor. Well, anyway,
interesting.
It's a competitor to competitor. I mean, it's, so Wildberries, for example, their net revenue was in the 20 billions, mm-hmm. whereas Amazon's net revenue is in the 200 billions. So there is definitely a range here. So it's not quite an Amazon competitor, but it is similar to Amazon. And her ambition really is to serve the global South. And so that's where I think this payment system is particularly interesting, because she has a real vested interest in growing her market share, more or less.
Well, it's more, this is beyond just a business interest on her part. So so let's break it down, guys, on the aspects of the geopolitical and economic one, that is, because those are now going hand in hand when you consider that the idea or the objective of it now that goes, as I said, beyond business, it's now going to move into the financial system. That means we will be looking at a change to the global financial system or setting that's been set after World War II. You all know what I'm referring to. Can anybody type in the chat box what I'm referring to? It starts with a B word.
And yeah, what you said before the show.
Let me see, because I always like to have the community involved in the conversation.
Yes.
So what am I referring to here, guys? One word. After World War II.
Also, hi, Truth Seeker. I see you.
All right, let me see here what you guys put in there.
Okay, there's some kind of funny questions in the chat box right now.
And Francis Tango, I see your question, and I will get to it later on. So no, it's not Berlin. No, think about after World War II. What was established from a financial perspective?
Yes, financial perspective. It set a lot of the current financial structure that we have here in the U.S. Yes.
Bretton Woods. Yeah, that is correct. Army with Harmony. So this is where the objective of this initiative by Tatiana, with the approval of the Russian government, Putin, that is, it's because now what you're going to be seeing, this will not be just on a financial aspect, but it will also change the geopolitical trajectory regarding global affairs. Because remember one thing, if you learned anything with us for the last 3 or 4 years, geopolitics and economics, when I say economics / finance / energy / whatever else, telecommunications and so forth, they all go hand in hand. If there is an impact on the economic aspects, it'll end up impacting the geopolitical decisions and vice versa. You know, you look at it now, no different than, for example, what's going on right now with, I'll give you guys 2 examples. One happened in Kenya, is happening in Kenya.
Oh yeah, talk about that.
It's that the Kenyan government now imposing taxes on its citizens. Well, who's really behind that decision? It wasn't the Kenyan government. It was the IMF. You know, then you have now NATO declaring Kenya as being a non-ally. It wasn't NATO. It was the US that declared this one. My point to you is, you know, we're talking about geopolitical aspect, but also the economic aspects of it.
Well, and I will say something interesting about Africa, because as we've watched over the last couple of years, we've had African coups, we've had colonializing countries being kicked out of Africa. We've had, and we've also seen a fight for resources in Africa, because why does anyone ultimately care, right? Why do the big powers ultimately care about whether they have influence in Africa or not? Africa has one of the, so first of all, this is really interesting if we're talking about economics. Africa is one of the only places overall that has a growing population. Almost everywhere else has a decreasing population. The United States, without immigration, for example, has a wildly decreasing population. The same with Europe, and the same with China. Their one-child policy did a very interesting thing in terms of China's, in terms of their population long term. And so if we're looking for cheap labor, for example, China doesn't have the cheapest labor anymore. What China does have is they have the economic infrastructure. They have the factories, they have the educated workers, they have the infrastructure, but they no longer have that cheap labor. Where has that cheap labor? Africa.
Africa because it has the manpower aspects of it. And this is that was just one example. You know, the second example,
my tangent.
I know it's kind of like the second example has to do with now what the EU is planning on doing in Asia regarding the security and economic partnership with none other than Japan and South Korea. But it is far beyond, because that one should be as a sign for what lies ahead. And my point in all this, without getting into that, is the idea that geopolitics and economics goes hand in hand. Tie it back to this conversation about the SWIFT. Because now you're going to see a system that is bypassing, which by the way, just for you guys to know, the SWIFT system has about 11 institutions in about 200 countries. This is why that strangulation of the dollar over countries comes in. This is why, like, we go back to example about Kenya, why Kenya is going to be paying a heavy price, because its debt from the IMF is in a US dollar. Argentina is an example. And you guys got the idea. So what's going to be happening with this system once it is established? Remember, this is not going to happen overnight. It takes time to build. And this is where you will be looking at, in my opinion, a Bretton Woods 2. Why? Because it's going to change. So what you're going to have camps. And I use the term camps. You're going to have the Western camp, and you're going to have the rest. When I say the rest, I am referring to over 150 countries. The rest, and you have the West the usual, the Germans, the French, the Italians, the Spaniards, the British, you got the Americans.
Yeah.
Well, it's because if you think about it, how did the euro came about? It was the US that pushed that. I remember way back. I still remember the date, the month. It was in July of 86. No, moved 87. And I went to Germany. I went to France because my family lives in France and Germany. I went to France and I had to exchange money to the French franc.
Absolutely.
Then I got a phone call from the family in Germany. It's like, you come over here. So it's like, okay, I'll be there. That I had to change money to the Dutch mark.
Yeah.
And he was like, wow, the Dutch mark was a little higher than the French franc. The US were thinking in terms of, no. We're going to have to keep Europeans under our thumb.
Yep.
That is where the euro came about. We are the one who pushed for it. With this, the initiative that Tatiana is embarking on with the conjunction with the
Kremlin
government,
and because Vladimir Putin gave his 2 thumbs up.
Because here's the thing, you need to have the back of the government on this, because it's a massive initiative. You're talking about building of infrastructure, financial, that is.
Yeah.
And we will bring to you one guest who knows a great deal about this. You all know Richard Turin, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm going to reach out to him and have him come, because he's into fintech. This guys, this is here, guys. This SWIFT stuff, it deals with fintech, finance, technology, because that's where it's going to be.
Yeah.
But it will be a seismic change to the global financial system when you consider the entire global South. Will be going that direction.
Well, and that's the point I think that she was making. So Bakalchuk. Oh my gosh. Bakalchuk. I
just
very
call
much
her Tatiana.
Tatiana.
She is cool with that.
And Mirzoyan. So this actually came out of a merger between Tatiana. Bakalchuk. I will say that right. Between Tatiana Bakalchuk and another company, Russ. It's Russ Group, I think they're called, and they are the largest outdoor basically outdoor marketing, right? So like billboards and such. And so this sort of came out of a very interesting merger. I think there's some questions as to why they merged, but that aside, because that doesn't really have geopolitical implications. But what does have geopolitical implications is basically that they came to Vladimir Putin and they said, they sent him a letter and they said, hey, we're looking to create the, quote, largest digital banking network and payment system to make settlements in rubles around the world bypassing SWIFT. So I don't know that everyone is going to use rubles right around the world.
Don't be surprised. In the global South, they will.
Sure, but I think so. I don't necessarily see ruble because Russia's not a large enough economy. I think
that is true.
To have the rubles be the reserve currency. Okay. They also they don't have. There's a bunch there, right? Okay, there's a bunch of reasons why I don't see them as kind of like a reserve currency secondary. Partially because very few people hold rubles around the world. Like it's some very small fraction of a percentage of people hold rubles around the world. Oh, it just got really dark in here.
It's the
clouds outside. But it is interesting because this is something that will morph, because what they're doing is they're trying to fill a gap that is left by US sanctions. Because I think there are a lot of countries, so they'll have to figure it out, because I really don't see, the entire global South using rubles as their primary, certainly not their primary.
Yeah, but it would not be on that. It would not be the entire.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
But that will be specifically to certain commodities. Think about the energy. Just think about the energy, for example.
Yeah.
How much energy Russia has? A lot. Yeah. Do you think if you are a country that you have to convert the currency, which you will have to lose into that conversion to the dollar to buy energy?
No, for
sure. Wouldn't you want to go directly and buy it from
Absolutely.
Russia?
And not only that, not only is it trouble with conversion, it's the threat of US sanctions, because the US sanctions a lot of people.
We abused it.
And if you don't, and if the US doesn't like what your country is doing, they'll sanction you, and then you have absolutely no choice. And so this really came out of the deep need that Russia has to bypass the SWIFT system. Because they got kicked out during this whole Russia-Ukraine thing. They got kicked out, and so they still have to function. And interestingly enough, the US thought all these sanctions would crater Russia, and it didn't. Russia's actually growing far more than the US thought it would. And so it's very interesting that they're doing this, and it makes sense that these are the people who are doing it.
Yeah, but it will be, you think about it in terms of, you have to think in terms of the current trend rather for where things will be about a decade or 2 decades. In a decade, we won't be, the US dollar will not be where it is today. Because you think about it, even the euro for that matter, look no different than the yen, the Japanese yen. Do you guys know where it is right now? Just now, about 160 points. That's how bad it went down. It's just how things are moving into the direction where this new system, if it is when it's created, not if, but when.
It is the backing of the Kremlin.
It will go forward because now it's a fait accompli, comme on dit en français. It's fait accompli. It's done deal. The world is not going back to where it was. First of all, I just read yesterday or the day before a statement by Sergei Lavrov. You know who he is, right? The foreign minister. Now, he is arguing that for the BRICS, on his part on BRICS, because there were 2 statements, one by him and one by Putin, President Putin. So for Sergei Lavrov saying that BRICS now is going to hold the membership, no more members. Because they're going to have to figure out, they can't be just absorbing whomever. I mean, I was always arguing for that. You got to sort out your in-house first before you start bringing in countries. And even Venezuela now. Venezuela officially applied. Officially applied
for BRICS. They got a lot of oil.
Think about that. But think also about another geopolitical issue with that. Do you guys know what it is? Can you think of any? Can you think of any? Simple. It might not. Venezuela is in the U.S. backyard. Think about it. Just think about it from that perspective, geopolitically speaking. And this is what I'm saying. You're going to have to think in those terms. The Russian president said, on the other hand, that there is no more, there will never be a trust towards the West anymore. It's done.
Well, I think, and that's, I think, something that the U.S. is finally starting to realize that people have as the rest of the world doesn't trust the Western world. And for God, it's been really interesting because for a very long time, the U.S. has been fed the story of the U.S. as the best country in the world, right? The best country, the best country.
We're no longer.
We dropped out of the top 20 in terms of happiness in the world.
No wonder
why. Right. And so, economically, there's all kinds of problems right now. And I think people in the United States are finally starting to realize the rest of the world doesn't like the United States that much.
Because of its policies.
Right.
Remember, American people are decent people.
Oh God, absolutely, people. Yes.
It's like every other human being. So it's the damn policies, and it's the government. I mean, the government doesn't represent me. I say it out loud, so I don't give a damn about the government. So here is the thing. What I need you guys to understand is the idea of how this system, once implemented, it's going to shift that trajectory of the global financial system because the whole Bretton Woods system when it was set up, and later on we convinced the Saudis. Oh, you're only going to use the dollar for the oil transactions. Because the whole idea back then was about to ensure strangulations on whomever decides to go against the US. That's what it was. Now this is going to free up some other countries to decide. Of course, it's not going to replace the dollar. No. It's the alternative. In other words, countries will have option B.
They'll have a choice.
I don't want to trade or in a dollar. I like to trade in another currency, especially energy from Russia. Could this explain, by the way, why Modi of India is heading out to Russia? First country after his re-election, which was dismal results, by the way. I don't know if you were following that or not, but it was bad. the outcome of the elections.
Yeah,
was so bad.
Say a little bit more about that.
It's bad that the backlash he got.
Yeah.
He got from and to the some have been wondering is and no offense to Hinduism, because that's part of it.
Sure.
But there are those who've been arguing that the Hinduism nationalists kind of like took it too far.
Yeah.
And Modi is prime minister. You give him the proper respect. Gave sort of the platform for that, especially with some ethnic issues that took place, and he stayed mum about it. But that's beside the point. The point is, he's going to Russia. He's not going to Germany. He's not going to the US. He's not going to mix you. Just I am thinking why, as a geopolitical analyst, I have to think in terms of this is not random.
No,
you pick in Russia for specific reason.
Yeah.
And if I could think of one specific reason, it has to do with the financial aspect. That's the only other reason. Because remember, India is a client of Russia.
Absolutely.
As far as weapons.
Absolutely.
And Russia's been giving a lot of oil to India. And what did India do with it? Sold it to Europe.
Yeah, sold it back to Europe.
Europe suckers.
I mean, that's not funny, but
it's not funny, but it is sort of they sold it to Europe. Yeah, they're looking for their own interest. They sold them at about 5-6 times the price.
Well, you know what? You'd be surprised how much that happens. So a friend and I were in the Bahamas. This is a true story.
Yeah.
A friend and I were in the Bahamas, which is a beautiful country, but I don't.
No, Bahamas still under the Commonwealth.
Yeah, the disparity between the haves and the have-nots in the Bahamas are it's really terrible.
Yeah.
But we were there and we were trying to figure out how come fish was so expensive. Like if you went out to a restaurant, fish was really expensive. And so we asked, we're like, why is this happening? And what they told us was that they fished the fish from the islands, right? From Bahamian like coasts, basically, and then ship it to Florida and then ship it back and sell it back to the Bahamanians. So it's their own fish that gets sent to the US, relabeled and sent back, and they have to buy them back. And so you'd be surprised how often that happens. That happens all over the world.
But in my opinion, just to get back to our topic here, my opinion is this will make some sort of redirect the trajectory of the global financial system. Yeah, the dollar, of course, will still be there. The yen, Japanese yen, will still be there. The euro will still be there. But even in Europe, which we don't hear much about, and again, I'm not saying it is happening. All I'm saying is a conversation, at least I had with some. The conversation is over the idea of, should we go back to our single currencies?
You know what?
This is what the Europeans are thinking about, because these sanctions on Russia now demonstrate how bad of an idea was to embark on the euro.
Well, and during the euro's time, we have watched Greece fall into chaos, into financially, right? We've watched other countries struggle. And because they were tied to the euro, they didn't have the same flexibility that they could have otherwise. So it's interesting. Some countries didn't adopt the euro, whether because they couldn't or because it was the wrong thing for them. Poland, for example, I see you. Poland, you're wonderful and amazing.
Even Poland. Do you know who's in China now? President of Poland. The incompetent Duda. I call him incompetent. No, I don't give it that. Well, it's because he's double standard. You look at what he's doing for the Polish people.
Yeah.
We go to Poland a lot, so it's kind of, we're very, very familiar with it. But the idea of, you're talking about, what he said, which was, to me, when I heard it, I was like, you truly exemplified now the epitome of stupidity. He said we need to carve out Russia to 200 states. I mean, come on, man.
I would like for him to chill out on that.
Where are the advisors?
But he has done some very good things too. I will say that. He has done some really good things. Like, for example, he has sort of more or less he's told the rest of the EU, we took the Ukrainian refugees and we're not taking anybody else. We're not taking any sort of external immigration, which has really helped Poland in the long run because, you know, whether we want to admit it or not, a lot of the other European countries are really struggling with the mass populations that they've accepted from.
Well, Germany now is going to be
Africa
sending back
East.
the Ukrainians.
Yeah. Well, oh man, that whole thing is rough.
Well, they dig themselves in a hole. But at the same time, about Poland, before I forget, how can we forget that he's the one now who's asking for the U.S. nuclear weapons to be on Polish soil? Come on, to me, you can't. To me, this is where you do one good thing. That doesn't mean you are thinking straight. He was not. That's why I never believed in the capability of the guy to truly manage the affair. You know, with the advice from the U.S. ambassador in Poland, well, if you only know who the U.S. ambassador to Poland is, none other than the son of Brzezinski. What he was Brzezinski to begin with, the father, the late, that established this whole Soviet Union as the enemy.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it from a historical perspective. Think about it. What would have happened back in the 70s if the Russian, the Soviet Union, the Chinese, and the Americans sat down on a table together and hash out their differences? We won't be seeing what we're seeing today.
Well, and I think that that's an interesting point overall. I mean, I think Poland is amazing.
It is. I'm not denying. I'm not denying. It is.
That's where I'm from. That's where my family is from. So I very much love
it.
Poland.
It is.
But I will say this: one of the things you just said is about the people who are sort of manipulating behind the scenes that we don't know about, that are not elected officials, that we have no idea what's going on. And those singular choices can sort of set the world on a particular path. I read an interesting quote the other day, you know, in time travel movies. Okay. In time travel movies.
Oh, the,
like Back to the Future and Doctor Who and all this, right? The time travel stuff.
Stargate.
Right? Stargate. Yes. They do a little bit of they do
sometimes.
Okay, they do a little Stargate.
Yeah, I start watching Stargate, by the way.
So I love Stargate.
Yeah, you guys check it out.
Hardcore sci-fi nerd. So one of the things that and I forgot who said this, but that, you know, when people in time travel movies, they're always really careful not to change any little thing because they think that if they change one little thing, it'll change the course of the future, right? It'll change all of history. But people rarely think about that same phenomena right now.
That's true.
Right? With any little thing that a human changes right now might change the course of history.
Well, this is the future, and this is one of the key things that, you know, mark my word on this. A quarter century from now, even 12 years from now, I'll give it about a decade. You know, you'll see a different trajectory altogether because people are waking up. What's taking place in Africa, for example? You look at the Sahel region, the entire Sahel region. They kicked out all Western presence, including the U.S. Because the U.S. military presence, we were present.
Oh, absolutely.
We were in Niger. I was familiar with it when I used to travel.
They kicked out the French first.
Yeah, and you're gonna see this change, and this is why you're seeing what you're seeing in Kenya, because the Kenyans, the people, are realizing what the heck with this stupid president that is pivoting all the way back to the West, only to invite. Did you know that the guy came frequently to the U.S. and consulted with none other than the Prime Minister of England, the incompetent Sunak, and none other than the sleazy French President Emmanuel Macron, and some other European? Why the heck would you consult? You know, you're free to do whatever, but think about the welfare of your people first.
Absolutely.
It's this concept to me. This is where I kind of get frustrated with this so-called leaders. If you couldn't think of the welfare of your people first, you don't think about your political career, your legacy, or who gives a damn about that? You think about what kind of world for your people they're going to remember you with.
Well, you know, and that's interesting that you bring that up because it is sort of like a backwards thing, right?
Yeah.
People are interested in their legacy and their, you know, whatever. Your legacy is what you do for other people.
That's it.
Your legacy is what you do. And so if you're not focused on people, that's what your legacy will be.
Yeah. Well, I hope people here in your community will remember me. when I check out, and it's like, hey, you just remember that Dr. O guy?
Remember his legacy.
Remember, he used to get whatever. So, but anyway, on a serious note here, just to go back to this conversation on the alternative to SWIFT system.
Yeah.
You can see just, of course, it's going to take time because building an infrastructure, look how long it took for us when the Bretton Woods system was established in New Hampshire. That's where the meeting was, I believe. Yeah, New Hampshire. There was a hotel there.
Oh, yeah.
It was in a hotel. Whatever. It was just the idea of it, how long it took. Then you got enrolling everybody in. Yes, this initiative by Tatiana might be slightly different. She's a businesswoman after all, because this is now where you notice. Actually, I read in the article, we will provide you guys with the link when it says that her company has been a major player in Russia's war economy, with sales rising 50% to 2.5 trillion rubles, which is about $28 billion last year. Driven by sales of domestic product and the exit of Western retailers such as IKEA, H&M, and Levi from the market. So, which, by the way, all those companies, if you only know where they produce their products.
Oh yeah.
If in Southeast Asia, and certain with having sort of younger people. I'm not going to use the term because I think there's specific term for it. I'm not going to use it. But you guys got the idea. And paying them a peanut for 12-hour day. You know, do you know, I had to challenge my son about shoes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
It was just a conversation. That was a few years ago.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I would like to have this and that. It was about Nike. And I said, sit down, Michael. Let me explain to you what Nike is. I'm not a guy. I have nothing against Nike. I wear Adidas sometimes, but even with that, I stopped buying those kind of shoes anyway. I said, let me just explain to you about Nike. Where does Nike produce its product? And I said, I don't know. I said, okay, that's fine. That's the whole idea of it. So let me break it down and you tell me if this is right. So the shoe is produced in some country in either Sri Lanka, India, some other parts in Southeast Asia. How much will it cost to produce it? A max of about $15. Okay. Who's working on it? Some young people being paid for 12 hours straight, sometimes no breaks. And we give them $1 a day? Okay. So let's say the shoe costs at the end $25. Okay. Then you're going to have to bring it to the US. Okay. You get the freight. You get the insurance. And once it gets to the US, you have that basketball player who's supporting that to have his name on it.
Right.
And by the way, that basketball player gets about $90 million a year just for having his name on that. So the shoe come over to the US, how much they sell it for? And I said, and I took him, he didn't know. I hope he's not listening to this. Michael, I had to do this, but I didn't tell you. I had to take him to the mall, to a specific store that deals just with Nike and high-end stuff. And I took him there just to see the prices for himself. You know how much was the shoe for? They asking for
probably $80, $100.
Yeah, $260.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I told him. So when I broke that down for him, shoe that it cost him $25, and I said, "Now you answer me. Are you willing to pay $260 because I am not? I'll help you with some, but I'm not going to pay the shoe for $280.
Well, and I think you bring up a really interesting point of we are very divorced from the supply chain. And I think in countries where there's more manufacturing, that is less of a problem because you watch manufacturing happen. Here, we don't manufacture very much. And if we do, the manufacturing plants are far away from the cities. Nobody goes to visit them. Nobody knows what manufacturing really looks like unless you work in manufacturing, right?
That's true.
Even the people who work for companies that do manufacturing don't know what manufacturing actually looks like. And so I think we have a consumer-driven society with no understanding of where the stuff comes from. There's a joke that goes, and I'm a millennial, so this is, obviously making fun of us too. But there's a joke that says
I won't understand
millennials and Gen Zs think that meat comes from the store, or that food comes from the store, not from a farm, right? Because it comes from a farm that came from the ground, and it's sitting nicely on your shelf, but it came from the ground.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, but people are so divorced from a supply chain. But the world runs on supply chain, right? We have, our food comes from all over the country or all over the world. Well, now we just don't know.
Yeah, now we are realizing that. This is why self-sustain is very, very important to understand.
And I will say, on consumerism, something that I've done recently is everything that I can possibly find to buy that's either local or ethically made, like certified ethically made, stuff that I actually believe in having. Is it pricier? Absolutely, yes. But am I interested in supporting the world that I want to see? Also, yes. Yeah. I want to see a world that moves away from plastic, fake everything.
All right, let's get back to our topic here. As far as understanding that, sometimes, here's the thing. When there's a crisis, there's always an opportunity in it. And this is exactly what you need to get out of the thinking of this businesswoman, Titiana, that is. That's how she saw it. She saw an opportunity. But the opportunity here, it's not for her. For her country, of course, but also is going to benefit the whole world for those who might be interested.
Yeah.
And what am I getting at here? I'm getting at to BRICS.
BRICS.
How do you think when this moves forward, as BRICS expands, just think about it. I'm not going to give you any answer because there is no answer right now. I just want you to think outside the box. Just think about it this way. Once this system enter into effect, which will be a while, but the fact that there is now thinking, countries are thinking, governments are thinking, who are interested in this, and how that's going to coordinate with where BRICS objectives are moving forward. As long as BRICS does one thing, has to be very careful about who they're going to bring in. That is I have this concern. I don't know why this feeling that is being, when I start to see where the global order is headed, and I've always felt unease about if BRICS grow so big quickly, it will be problematic.
Well, and I think they also see that problem, and that's why
Sergei Lavrov said what he said.
That's why,
and rightly so.
Absolutely.
So now there is one aspect to all this that is tied to something we talk about, especially in the world of economics and finance, and this will have to do with gold. Okay. Now you may ask yourself, how is this tied to? Well, think about it. When Bretton Woods system was set up.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, he later run for a few years till the arrangements was made with the because at that time when Bretton Woods was established, what was the dollar backed by?
Gold.
That's my point. Till the arrangements was made with the Saudis for us to get out of the gold and use the. I see the same pattern going here for the countries. This is why you get a country like China. Do you guys have any idea how much gold China has?
Don't tell them. Don't tell them. Because I have a show that I have done on, is China hiding how much gold they actually have? So I have a show coming out on that. So don't tell them.
All right. So we'll keep it for that. But just my point to you guys, you'll think about countries will have to think strategically in terms of if this system goes forward, what you're going to back that up with? You can't back it up with debt, because for us, I mean, you think about I read the report about the consumer debt here in the US.
Well, so I want to speak to debt for a second, because debt is not only a US problem. The amount of debt that exists globally is substantial. As we talk about the US's debt problem, but like China has a debt problem too. So,
but it's not the same way like we do.
No, the US has unbridled spending, like even the oh my God, even the budget for this year was I think 1.6 trillion over, and now it's like 2 trillion over. It's just absolute insanity. Okay. So we have unbridled spending here in the United States with no plan and no hope to reduce it. We're finally starting to get some conversation in Congress about seriously doing that. But I don't know how long they can talk about it and not do anything about it.
Yeah.
But there's unbridled spending here, which is not the same problem as it is in China, for example. But there is like global debt is an issue overall. So it's not just the US that has debt. But continue. That was an aside that I think is interesting. And I would like to talk in one of our shows about global debt.
Yeah.
Not just the US's debt, but global debt.
Yeah, because what goes on with the US financially really will end up impacting other parts of the world.
So many currencies are tied to the dollar, for example. We are the largest market. Sorry guys, this is like a tangent,
that's why we are with the SWIFT in over 200 countries. There's a reason for all that.
There's a reason and like you said, 11 major financial institutions and over, I think it's like 200 countries or something like that.
That's what it is.
So one of the interesting things that's starting to happen here in the US is purchasing fatigue. So that means, if you notice McDonald's brought their $5. I would never eat at McDonald's.
Don't eat a McDonald's, guys. If you only know what's in that food, don't.
Choose real food. Choose real food over synthetic food. Yeah. But that's not the point. Is though that they brought their $5 meal back. Even Starbucks is starting to have deals. But consumers are getting fatigued in terms of buying here in the United States, because even if something doesn't cost more, like let's say it's being made in India, for example, and it doesn't cost more in labor and all of that there, it's being marked up here to the extent that the US consumer can't keep consuming at the same rate. So a lot of these other countries, we have the Indias, the Chinas, the Africas, there's stuff that's made all over the world. If the United States can't buy that stuff anymore at the same rate, that affects their economies also, that affects their businesses also, because that doesn't, just because it's more expensive here to buy doesn't mean that manufacturer is getting more money for that product. So there's the US's economy is absolutely tied to just about everywhere else in the world, if not everywhere, for good reason. And I think going back to Wildberries and Tatiana here, she is trying to find a way around that,
and
because her entire idea is basically getting an Amazon not tied to the US dollar, an Amazon she's tied to rubles, okay, but as far as I can tell, but that isn't the plan. The plan is to sort of get around what's happening with the US dollar right now.
Well,
this is very smart on her part.
This is why the idea of those who've been arguing, let's sanction China, and it was like I always shake my head at the stupidity, not thinking or not understanding that if China retaliate back, or just shut down. Look what just they did to Europe. No, China retaliated.
Yeah.
The European tariffs and
China
absolutely. Retaliated right away.
Yeah.
Give it about a few weeks. Give it a few weeks, 4 weeks, and see what the Europeans are going to be. The car manufacturer, the automobile industry in Europe, what they're going to be telling the governments.
Yeah.
Because they sell most of their products in China, and China said, and you know why China did it? It's because the automobile industry inside China, the CEOs told Beijing, you need to retaliate for them. And Beijing said, sure, we'll do it. And they did.
Well, and what's crazy about that situation? Oh,
I know.
Like a whole thing.
I know.
Okay.
They kind of talked to Chinese and stabbed them in the back.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. Hypocrisy. That was me.
Okay.
That was me being expressive.
What happened?
Me, I got expressive.
Okay, but I totally agree. And one of the most interesting things is these Chinese cars. So the United States, we more or less have had the same car for since the car was invented. Okay, we don't have these massive. We don't have these massive innovations in the automobile industry. We have nicer looking cars and somewhat safer cars and more technology in the car, but it's basically the same car. Okay,
but the performance is not good in comparison to European cars.
Well,
I'll tell you, for some sporty cars,
yes, definitely.
That is not. I
definitely.
drove European cars. I used to own only European cars.
Well, but it's the same issue with European cars,
Yeah.
right? But the price tag
That's
on
correct.
cars
That is
has
correct.
not gone down in relation to the fact that we actually haven't had big innovations in cars, in auto manufacturing. Okay.
Yeah.
But China is coming in with their cheap, these cheap EVs.
BYD.
Yeah.
It was one of the viewers on the channel put a comment, and I remember reading it. It's like, Dr. O, it costs about $10,000.
I know.
This
that's
is like
thing.
this
you
is
can't
like
get a car in the US for $10,000.
But that's like low end.
Right.
Let's say if you go up, and you can go up to 20,000.
Right.
And it's still compare that to Tesla. How much Tesla costs?
Right. For like $100,000.
Yeah, that's the upgrade of it.
Even that, what car can you get for $10,000? A new car in the United States?
Yeah, no, there's
Can
none.
you get a single one?
There's
it
none.
doesn't matter whether it's EV or gas or what. Can you get a single one? What can you get for $20,000?
None.
Like nothing.
No, you have to buy a used one.
Yeah, you have to buy a used car.
And this is what I'm saying. The idea of those who saying, yeah, let's sanction the Chinese. I almost like, I laugh out of stupidity of those individuals not understanding the ins and outs. And sometimes when things happen, like I always say, in geopolitics, nothing happened in vacuum. I'm going to take you back a few months ago when the Prime Minister of Netherlands, Mike Rutte, came over, was summoned to the White House. He didn't visit, he was summoned.
Yeah.
Do you know why he was summoned at that time? He was summoned because we wanted to tell him, hey, you need to crack down on your company, ESML, the one that has this specific equipment for chips. Those are for the 3 nano. And we want you to block the sale to the US, to China.
Yeah.
And he did. But you know why he did it? Why do you think?
Why?
Because he knew we would return the favor by appointing him as the NATO secretary.
Yeah.
So officially now, he is the NATO secretary. The baton has gone from the far right to the far left, or far left to the far right.
Yeah.
It's the same as usual.
Same.
And yet it was the Dutch naval vessel that was just on the backyard of China. Europeans now sending their ships over. Did win some drills or whatever.
Why?
I know, provoking China.
Jeez,
I'll be, by the way, guys,
why?
I will be talking to Carl Za on Saturday. Yeah, he just sent me. Carl Za just got a new baby, and I sent him. I didn't hear back. I thought when I found out, I sent him and I said, Carl, go enjoy your time.
Yeah.
You know, you're busy now.
Yeah.
We'll talk later. He was kind enough to send me.
Wow.
I said, no, because we do it once a month at the end of the month. He was kind enough of him. I was like, man,
that's so okay. Sweet.
So, but this is something I'm gonna address with him. He's a historian. He's a historian.
Cool.
History. Yeah. He's a buff when it comes out to history.
Yeah.
He has like a channel. This is just with history.
Wow.
From way back to the 1400s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
very,
dedication. That's real.
Yeah, I know. I learned from him. That's why it's so. Just to go back to our point, the idea of this nonsense of sanction this, sanction that, and this is where Tatiana's idea and the Kremlin saw the possibilities.
Yeah.
Remember, some countries think strategically. They don't think for next quarter.
Right.
They think about the next 15,
well,
20.
and quite frankly, Russia has to. Right. They don't have a choice.
They do.
I think that one of the biggest mistakes that the US could have possibly made was sanctioning Russia.
And, it was.
And I'm not here to say Russia's a bad guy. Okay. I'm not here to say anybody's a good or bad guy. What I am here to say is that there is consequences to decisions. And so let's say it's an unintended consequence. So let's say the intention was to crater Russia's economy. Okay, well, it didn't do that. Okay, number one, it didn't do that. And number two, the unintended consequence was that Russia had to go figure out what else to do. And so this is one of the things that they are trying to figure out, if this will help their economy grow and help them actually tap into the 5.8 billion people that are in the global south.
Yeah, this is very, very, very problematic. Yeah, it's in the idea of now how the West. Now, there is another point that I would like to talk to you before we guys turn it over for questions. I'd like to bring in within this conversation what Europe is going to be now moving forwards to.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
This one has to do with the seizing assets of the Russians. Remember?
Yeah,
they are moving with that.
Yeah.
So think about it. The idea of this, and again, I'm just
so short.
First of all, let's just call it what it is. Yeah. It is theft.
Yeah.
There is no other explanation to it. Yeah. It's theft, violating all the norms, all international law, or whatever. Yeah. Here is how it works in international law. Based on what I read, when a country is in conflict with another, the assets gets frozen, okay? Doesn't matter. But if it gets frozen, those assets will not be touched till the issue is resolved.
Yeah.
This happened between South Korea and Iran. I was familiar with the case where the Korean held the payments for Iran's oil because the US pressured South Korea. We all know how South Korea is.
Yeah.
Later on, the arrangements was made that the U.S. told South Korea, you can release that funding.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
But to take it, which the European Union is doing, taking that money and sending it to Ukraine. By the way, that money doesn't stay in Ukraine, by the way, guys.
No.
Just to let you know, it's a circle. Think of a circle.
That's a great point, yeah.
Yeah, you start in one point, you go around, and you come back to the origin.
Yeah.
So that money is coming back here and coming back to Europe to a degree.
Well, because you got to ask, what are they buying with that money, right?
Well, they're not buying anything. It comes for special interest groups and all that stuff. But here is the point to tie it to what we're talking about. Hypothetically, if there is this new system that bypassed the SWIFT, it will be no need to freeze anything because nothing will be held under that kind of the SWIFT system.
Yeah.
This is where the objective of why you personally have to think from a financial perspective as to what will this mean to you, depending again what part of the world you live in. So you're going to have to see how much the currency, if you live in, let's say, Southeast Asia or versus Africa, whatever, the exchange rate will be slightly different for the dollar. But if there is some other alternative altogether, you'll be saying to yourself, okay, why will I need to hold the dollar anymore?
Right.
And this is exactly why China now is moving into that direction of dumping some of the treasury bills, some of the bonds. But the last one was the $53 billion. They are moving into that direction.
I actually want to do a show because I dug deep and figured out who actually owns the majority of treasury bonds.
Yeah. Then let's do it. You guys want to? Let's see.
Because it's not what you think.
Before we do that, we always ask the community.
Yes.
I like to ask.
Yeah, because the reality.
Would you like to have a show on what was it?
Treasury bill. Who actually owns them?
Yeah.
Because
yes or no?
It's not what you think.
Yes or no? Just please, yes or no? Because if it is, I personally will go dig into this because if Elizabeth did, I can just dig into this and learn, and that will be a learning part.
It's interesting. And it is.
Let me see what the community says.
It does not bode well for the U.S.
No, it's not. Most Americans have no idea, have no clue. They're gonna be hit with a hammer on the head once they find out when the dollar.
Because the thing is, China, I think China actually owns only like 8% of that. Like, it's not.
Karakulak, you say yes. Hong Wang, you say yes. JD, you say yes. K Sheriff, you say yes. Sonia, you say yes. Sabah al Khair. There is somebody by the name Sabah al Khair, which means good morning in Arabic language.
Wow.
And he answered in Arabic. It says Naam, which means yes.
Nice.
Yeah, good to see you also. Hamad Sidi is saying yes. Muhammad Mazhar Uddin, you say yes.
Okay, this makes me
casual walk. You say yes on Treasury. Cool. That's it, guys.
Cool.
How about if we do it next week?
Okay.
Is it possible?
Yes, and yes, absolutely.
That's it. It's a done deal. The only way we don't do it if I check out. If I check out.
Wait, why would you check out?
Well, I don't know. I don't guarantee my life tomorrow.
You better be here next week.
I live the day as it comes. I live the day. That's why I enjoy. That's why I enjoy my time with the community, because tomorrow is another day.
David, you're not a Boeing whistleblower, so I think you'll be fine. Okay.
Now you see why I left Washington altogether.
Oh
I said I was done.
Terrifying.
But
done. No, this Treasury bill thing. I looked at it and I was like,
I like to.
Oh my god.
I like to. I'm gonna go.
Like, this doesn't bode very well for the U.S. economy.
Well, like I always say, most Americans have no idea.
No, they have no idea. They have no idea. But the thing is, I think globally also people don't know who owns it.
People. If you have, this is my advice, and this is not a financial advice. This is just common sense, and I say it for me. Whether you want to accept this or not, it's your decision. If you have large sums of money in the bank, take it out.
Well, put it somewhere.
Or
right?
somewhere. Don't take it out. Just leave it sitting.
Yeah.
Use it. Use
Don't
it.
mattress that.
But use it in a different way.
Yeah.
There are other options. Well, I can't tell you because I don't know. I'm not a financial. I do what I am certain of. This is why sometimes when we do those dedicated video, it's for a reason. And we appreciate you supporting us for that because first of all, that's a business decision. And we want you to know this. And second, we don't agree just to whomever either. We can say no if we choose to. Third is we see the investment opportunities in it.
Yes.
That's why we do.
But we are not investment experts. We are absolutely not. But I will tell you, go put it somewhere that you deem is appropriate.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do, is bring you guys as much information as we can so you can make the best decisions that you can.
That you can.
And I do, honestly, I think that this is overall very interesting. In a sense, I like Wildberries because I like Etsy. I don't like Amazon because of the gigantic thing that it's become. But the idea of Amazon is fantastic, to give people across the globe the opportunity to sell and to have their own businesses.
Yeah.
To me, one of the things that bothers me the most about the US economy overall is that there's a handful of companies that own everything. Do you know that Philip Morris, the cigarette company, owns a bunch of our food companies also? I mean, check that out. And that's been going on for ages.
Yeah.
So I really love the ability to give people the ability across the globe to be able to more or less have their own businesses. I think that's the solution to a lot of this, is be self-sustaining in whatever way you can.
That's true.
And there's nothing wrong with being an employee, but you know,
Amazon is right because the convenience, whatever, but also Amazon is embarked on some policies that, first of all, their employees are not compensated accordingly. But again, that's their internal stuff. To me personally, is when I found out how much they charging for the books, for my books. Electronic one, they charge you almost $50. I know it's not them.
They don't set that price.
It's the publisher.
It's the publisher.
But do you know how much they take in the percentage for that?
I know.
A large one.
Okay.
And that's why I went ahead. I was like, because I had one of viewers from the community wanted to go ahead and buy the book.
Well,
and he said,
you fixed that.
Yeah, but he said it was like 130. I said, don't. Don't.
Yeah.
$130, that's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I went ahead and put the books in.
Yes,
and
guys.
It's $15 or $10, whatever that is.
David.
Actually, I have it. I have it right here.
Put the link in because it's hard to.
I have.
Do you see the link?
That's
okay. But
right
David put his books on
I put
Buy Me
one
a Coffee
for $10.
Great. That's a much more reasonable price.
Yeah. Well, I don't charge you too much. And now I'll share it with you guys. I won't hide it from you. Yesterday, I get many phone calls and emails from the publisher.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're reaching out.
Well,
they wanted to promote my book. I was like, no, we're done. I can't trust you.
Yeah.
You broke that. That's it. We're done.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to answer some questions for you guys before I have, because I gotta.
Yes. We're
no. Here's
almost
the
running
thing.
out of time too.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I gave my word to Francis Tango that I will answer his question.
Hi, Francis Tango.
So I gotta go back. I am a man of my word. I only do what I say. Here's the question.
Yes, and guys, put questions in.
Not this one here. Nope. My apologies. Where is it? I just had it.
I don't know. Francis Tango, do you want to put your question
Francis
back in
Tango,
there?
the first question, the first one about BRICS you had. And I pin it here, but bummer.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Francis Tango, please put it back. Oh, we have. Oh no, here it is.
I got it. I got it right there.
Here, you took it off.
Okay, here we go. Francis Tango, Doctor, do you Do you perhaps know why BRICS does not have any member now? Perhaps because of the attack in Russia or what? No, it has not to do with that. Russia in an attack, and by the way, the attack in Russia wasn't by Ukraine. Did you know?
Yeah,
Did you know it wasn't the Ukraine?
Well,
that's a conversation for another day. No, it's not with that. I think it has to do with, because remember, the upcoming summit is going to be in October. It's not that far, 6 months goes by, so whatever that time is, or 5 months, whatever. I think what BRICS doesn't want to be in a chaos as far as the admissions. Remember, they already are 11 members now, with Venezuela applying. That makes it 12. And you got about 14 countries lined up. So to me, that's a growth that is so fast. It's not a healthy one.
It's too fast.
Too fast. Yeah. Any common sense would tell you don't want, like when you have your own business, you don't want to grow that fast because you won't be able to manage it. So my thinking is that this is a strategic decision. They wanted, first of all, work out their internal dynamics. And remember, you still have to deal with India inside BRICS. I've always said this, nothing against India. India is the weak link. And could it be why India is going to Russia? I don't know. Maybe something has to do with it. But till this sort out, but has nothing to do with the attack. That's my opinion.
Okay, let's take one more question because we are over time, but it's another BRICS question.
Sure.
Dave H. Question, and thank you for making it big and obvious for me to see. With BRICS and ASEAN, Thailand has already joined. Will the rest join? Will the Philippines join BRICS? If not, will they get thrown out of ASEAN?
No, they won't get thrown out. But if Philippines gets involved, you're going to see another second link, weak link. To me, I don't think so. Philippines is ready. Philippines have now some serious domestic issues, both on the political front and the economic. Where Marcos Jr. is taking Philippines, ain't gonna bode well for that country. Philippines is not this advanced system. They need but with the policies that being pushed or shoved down the throat of Marcos by the US, but he can say no. But I don't think so. He has that personality of having the capability of saying no. So no, they won't. I don't see Philippines in. As far as Thailand, even with Thailand, you're going to have to think in terms of the infrastructure project that there is a joint project between China and Thailand regarding some bridge and some ports of sort, major one. I remember talking about it one time and compared it. I didn't say it is.
Did someone get after you?
Yes, they didn't. I was like, chill out, man. Chill out. We're always saying is giving a comparison for the Panama Canal. That will be the in terms of the comparison. It wouldn't be the same volume and all that stuff. Just to make a point. And I guess the person didn't.
There's always somebody who is willing to complain on the internet about
what do you do?
You can't.
You forgive. I forgive, as long as they don't cross the line.
Yeah, don't be disrespectful.
Nah, you'll be disrespectful. I will let you have it because I don't owe it to anybody on this earth. Simple. I don't owe it to anybody.
Absolutely.
Simple as that.
Okay, Juan Horn and Casual Walk, I see your questions, but we don't have time today. Come back next week.
Next week. We'll do it. And we'll be talking about the
Treasury bonds.
I want to learn about that one.
Who owns them?
I know.
It's not mostly China.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
Big shocker, not mostly China.
I look forward to that. Okay. All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this. Please hit that like button. Don't forget that. And remember to subscribe if you have not done so. We are very, very grateful for your support and look forward to seeing you next time. As always, prepare yourself for the changing world order. Till next time. Bye-bye.